afternoon or night or whenever you're listening. We are on our final summer episode, episode 8, and we have our special guests. Drum roll, please! We are here with Joseph C. Liccato, principal of Ronkonkoma Middle School, and Victor, I don't know your middle initial, Zambrana. R. Victor
Yes.
R. Zambrana.
Are you sure that's your middle initial?
Yes, I am pretty sure. R for Ramon.
Ramon. How did I
See?
not know this?
I know.
Victor
I know.
Ramon
Zambrana.
Very
Yes.
nice. And we are here to have our special guests talk a little bit about the embracing of technology through the years.
Through the years. Just been my 50th birthday, so it's
Nice.
a long
Round
year.
of applause.
I know.
Yeah.
Thank God it's a podcast and not a television show.
The big 5-0.
Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I met you on the eve of your 30th birthday, and
See
look
there.
where we are now.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. We're still friends.
Wow.
Are we though?
So, absolutely.
Okay, I'm just making sure.
All right.
Okay, so why we've asked you here, Joe, is to talk a little bit, and we brought your little buddy Victor because he's the one who kind of has supported all this growth for
Listen,
you.
I try my best.
I'll tell you, Victor is definitely someone that makes me feel confident in doing something I'm not always so confident in doing.
Ooh.
You not confident? Listen,
Never seen the day.
never seen the day. Exactly.
All right. Well, the people at home can't see, but I'm here with my paper and pencil pad and all that, while everybody has their Chromebook up. So that's why they asked me to sit.
Kevin has a MacBook.
Here's my pen.
Pinky up. Kevin has a MacBook. So, Joe, talk to us a little bit about start of your career, technology, your feelings towards it, what you use. Go really dig deep there, Joe.
You want me to dig deep?
Dig deep.
So I am a product of growing up in the 80s. And in the 80s, I had a Commodore 64.
Nice.
Okay?
Wait a
which
second.
was
Hold
cool.
on.
Yeah.
What's that?
A Commodore 64 was a personal computer. I don't want to say it was the first, but it was probably one of the first, what we would consider better personal computers. You'd hook it up to your television, most likely.
Really?
Yes, and it had eventually
didn't
had
know
a
that.
modem
I
that
really
would
didn't know.
beep and all of this kind of stuff, and you would get onto a page with someone else possibly just typing at the other end. But believe it or not, I was very, very, I grew up that time, so I embraced what the technology was. My friends and I, we played games, and we had floppy disks and all that kind of stuff. I had a ColecoVision at the time. It was like a high-powered Atari. So
Ooh.
Wow.
yeah. And I also, in high school, got very involved in music, and I also embraced technology at that time to record music, maybe to do some small little films. So I did enjoy using technology a lot, regardless of what Miss Alise Salvaggio thinks. But I did. It was definitely was not afraid of it, and I felt as if I was pretty good at it at that time.
Mm-hmm. I remember when I first started teaching, you were teaching in the room next door, and we had any type of smart or Promethean board.
I had chalk.
Yeah.
I used chalk.
But we did have computers. We had
Yes.
computers in the like a bank of computers on the side of the room because we did the accelerated reader program
Yes.
where the kids took little tests on little books that they read, and I thought that I was really on top of things by having those 5 computers in the side of the room. I was very proud of them.
Mm-hmm.
Joe and I were the only 2 that had those 5 computers.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else only had 1.
Yeah.
And I bragged about them to everybody.
Yes, I recall, and I enjoyed that too. So I guess, what is your big question? You're giving me this squinting.
I feel like
squinting
there's
look.
a shade of mistruth to how much you loved technology. Can you tell
No.
us that there's a shade of mistruth to that?
I think what wound up happening with me is not that I didn't embrace technology. I think specifically now, to kind of jump all over the place.
Start jumping, Joe.
But specifically now, things move extremely quickly. Tomorrow is going to be a lot more advanced than today, literally.
You're telling
day
me.
to day. So change, nobody really embraces change all of the time, but change usually happens over time. Now change happens so rapidly that it's uncomfortable, and I think what started to make me concerned about using technology is, I guess the heart of it is social media. Number one, I do have
valid point.
I do have disdain for aspects of social media. Also, that the accessibility to technology is in everybody's pocket, rather than my Commodore 64, where I had to go home in my bedroom as a kid and not really be able to do all of that much with it. Now, everybody has a voice, and everybody has a soapbox to rant, and I think our sense of decorum, our sense of what it is to be a good person in society, sometimes gets clouded by this tool that is very powerful. So that's a fear.
You brought up music, prime example, right?
Mm-hmm.
How music was back in the days. You had to go to shows, you had to put out your flyers.
Sure.
You had to put the work in to actually get your name out there.
Sure.
Where nowadays, with how technology has changed in YouTube and all the social media aspect, people basically become instantly famous overnight. And how has that changed, like, market-wise? Sales. Now sales come in streams. Where back in the days, they used to be on recordings and
Sure.
physical, records themselves. So that's just the way of the world at this point.
It is.
How things adjust and how just things change moving forward.
It's funny you mention that because, there is something to me, maybe just being an old person or feeling it this way, about the idea of being an overnight craze, a TikTok craze, something that becomes popular with really not paying your dues, honing your talent.
Yes.
I feel that the fast track to certain things leave out a lot, and I think it leaves out integrity in a lot of ways.
Is now not the time to tell him that I wanted to do a Connect Quad IT TikTok? And I've been waiting to get everyone back together to do that.
Right.
Because I feel like we're gonna be super popular with our TikTok.
Right. Oh, I bet. Yeah.
When we get there.
I'm sure.
Listen, when we get there, one step at a time, we'll get there.
So I don't know. We're gonna edit some of this stuff out. So
are we though?
I guess that one.
Well, I think I understand what you're saying because it's about work ethic in the long run. Like, you think, like, it can be the easy way out now where you could just put yourself on TikTok and it'll happen overnight, whereas long ago, years ago, it was just, okay, it's hard work to become famous and to get where you want to be.
Yeah. Like, if you think about, remember, I know Cameo, where you get a famous person, you pay them to get the message. Like,
Yes.
there are
Like
famous
cuisine.
TikTokers that do nothing else but make
Cuisine.
TikToks that people will pay money to a famous TikToker to come and
they're
like
over
get a cameo.
$100 for
Yeah.
each one. Like, they're
Yeah.
$150.
It is a whole new kind of niche that has evolved, that people are literally making money off of just TikToking. They don't have to do anything more than that.
Completely different business.
It is, and if we circle back to education, I guess that's why we're here too.
Yes.
To talk about if we circle back to education, I do believe that the teacher is the most powerful tool, if you will, or vehicle in the room, and I fear sometimes that technology sort of replaces, for younger people, the human factor. I've seen a lot of loss of, how do I say this? Respect, decorum, interaction, being able to socialize, even sitting around a table like we are doing now.
Yeah.
This is so unrehearsed and so early in the morning for me, even with one cup of, but we're able to sit around and have these conversations. So the losing of a sense of who you are as a person is something that has frightened me. The idea that in education, what drives us, to follow our passions? What are we passionate about? I'm not saying technology takes that away, but what I have, at least in my own opinion, seen is that the authenticity of finding what it is to connect as a human being sometimes gets interrupted with the vehicle of the technology.
I'm not going to disagree with that. I'm not going to disagree with that at all. I just think that the ability to connect is really in a whole different place than it was before. And it's not about, Victoria and I used to always talk with people about, like, technology is the tool. And I can't even agree with myself anymore on that post-pandemic, because technology is a part of everybody's everyday now. That's just what it's become in this post-pandemic world, whereas before it was just a tool that we could use. Now it's about, we have to teach the kids appropriate use of these tools in an everyday environment, because that's what they're doing in business, that's what they're doing in their lives, that's what they're doing in the world. And it's not so much anymore about when to use it, it's about appropriate use of it with regularity, with fidelity. You know what I mean? Exactly. And it's no longer like, okay, well, now we can bring out the Chromebooks, let's sign out the cart and bring it in. It's like they have it every day. What are we doing to make sure that they are not always on it and not socializing with the other kids in the class, but using it at appropriate times for the right things? And that has been something that we have really been discussing and talking about best practices on, in the last, year or so, in saying, no, I don't want to walk around the school and see the kids, all 25 of them buried in the Chromebooks all day. I want to see 10 of them in a corner on the Chromebook. I want to see 10 of them in another corner conversing with each other, drawing, putting things up on the wall, doing, graffiti art about chapter 2. And I want to see a healthy balance. And I think where you and I have always kind of gone back and forth about technology over the years is just coming to that common understanding where it's not about just using it all the time or thinking it's the solution to everything. It's about, I think we're in agreement on it. It has to be a healthy balance. And I've actually watched Joe, we brought Victor in because there is one particular project that I do want Joe to talk about on his Veterans Day project that I was actually, like, we gave Joe so much support on that day for that event, really, because I was very proud of what he was trying to do for the whole school and using technology as a vehicle to do that, whereas
pre-pandemic there wasn't even a thought about live streaming, and then now during pandemic, just trying to get the information out to everybody, we saw it as a valuable tool, as an asset to do the live streams, to get the audio out there, to get the video out there. How much people got involved with it, just with the numbers of how many people watched the stream. It was just it was nice to see the change,
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed that very much, and especially with the support we have here. I mean, not to do any plugs for our IT team here, but in the past few years, 2 years, especially 3, it has become such. First of all, you're always accessible. You're always willing to do anything, and when, like I said, sort of an older thinking person like me, or someone that's not as comfortable, has an idea, you then, I have an idea, and then you have the means in which that idea can be accessible to so many people. So that is really the behind-the-scenes heroes of everything that happens here in this district. It's just been remarkable. And all you folks sitting at this table and everybody else who in part of your team has made me and people maybe that are like-minded like me very comfortable with doing what we're doing, or doing what you're doing.
We're the dream makers, Joe.
You are the dream makers.
We make your dreams come true. I won't sing it this time.
It's true.
But would you say now that your overall feeling towards technology do you have a little bit more likeness to it, and not just because Victor's here, not just because
No,
Victor's here?
you know, I think technology is such a broad term, you know? It's such a broad term. If we would have this conversation 50 years ago, we would be calling the television technology. We would be calling
You're right,
our
actually.
That's
VCR
very true,
technology.
yeah.
We would be calling, you know, you go
VCR.
back further, you would be calling the telephone technology. You know, the idea that it's such a broad term. My apprehension with the use of the technology that we have, that everyday people have today, is that there are truly not many governors on it. You know, we wouldn't let an 11-year-old drive a vehicle. Okay, we just wouldn't do that. That's not to say that someday everybody needs this vehicle to get around in life.
Mm-hmm.
But because of the power and the power of the tool and the way you can reach, you know, globally reach whomever you want and communicate with with whomever you want and express yourself however you want to anybody you want with very few governors on it. That's what makes me nervous, if you will.
Yeah.
Lack of a better word. So I embrace technology, and I always have.
Yeah.
It's just that now and then I would say 10 years from now, but it's moving so quickly. You know, what we have now is obsolete, and I don't know that human beings truly have developmentally the capacity to have something this powerful in their hands at such a young age.
That was deep.
I don't. Well, it's not that it's deep. It's true.
It is. It's deep.
I
It's
find
deep.
it true. You know, I mean, many of you were parents, and I don't think we would allow our children to cook us breakfast at 5 years old on a gas stove. I just don't see that. And you would call that technology.
I wouldn't do it on an electric stove.
An electric stove. You would call that, you know, technology at one particular
No, you're
period
right.
of time.
You're
But this
right.
all,
You know,
this
but-
all goes back to the fact of instant access.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of these kids YouTube everything,
Yeah.
and how do they learn? They learn from watching these videos, from watching other people.
Mhm.
Where my era, you know, your era,
Right.
we didn't grow up like that.
No.
So the amount of information these kids retain now compared to what it was in our day,
It has
is-
changed the
is-
scope of classroom learning, though, as
Exactly,
well.
exactly,
Because,
absolutely.
you know, like, I think about it, right? So I'll talk about, I use this example all the time. My 10th grade biology teacher, he would hand out packets that had, like, diagrams of the muscles, the skeleton system, all that stuff. And you had to learn where all the parts go. And this was lessons. These was days and days of lessons. But the kids today, they don't need that packet. They don't need the teacher to go over that with them because it's literally instantly accessible, faster than the teacher can photocopy it and give it to them, for them to just open up their phone or their Chromebook or anything and see that's the, you know, how the skeletal system is made up. It's now the job of a teacher is different because it's about teaching the kids what to do with the knowledge that they can get instantly. It's not about the dissemination of knowledge anymore. You're not the gatekeeper of it. We're just not the gatekeeper of knowledge anymore. And, you know, even as an English teacher, it's like the kids can Google anything about what the symbolism in chapter 2 was about any of it.
But they could Google anything about anything at any age, at any time.
Yes.
Because for the most part, our society has allowed our children to have access to this way before they should.
The button has been hit.
All right, we're back.
So
All right.
maybe you could edit
Guess
Back from
who's
the
back?
break.
So
Back from
maybe,
the break.
so maybe you could
Back
edit this
again.
in. You know, yeah, and I do agree. Kids can go on YouTube and they can Google, you know, information. And I do it all the time. I mean, I'm a terrible mechanic, but when I try to fix something at home, I do YouTube and I think that technology serves that's a great purpose. But what I do feel is, you know, you and I, Alise, in our prior lives are English teachers, but I guess we're always English teachers, right? You read great literature. You read a passage in great literature. It's more than informational. You know, now it's more than informational. So where technology does give you information right away and teach you how to do things, The factor of soul searching, the factor of making connections of who you are as a human being, the factor of what drives you or what turns you on, or thinking in different ways that you wouldn't ordinarily think of because of the word, because I think the word is so powerful. And we spent so much time a couple of years ago, on close reading and the different connotations of things, and why do we have particular word choices? Why do we use particular word choices? And the way those word choices make you feel or make you think. I feel that is something that is lost or can be lost. So I just don't want to throw, as they say, the baby out with the bathwater, too.
What?
Throw the baby out with the bathwater.
It's also about like the teaching experience. Like the teacher is providing that experience to the kids. If you just give the kids like an activity, say on Google Slides that we put together, without the teacher getting them excited for the activity or giving them that meaningful experience, it's just
or being able to take a great something written. I mean, why are we teaching writing anymore? Why are we teaching kids how to write letters? Why? I mean, it truly is obsolete.
I'm gonna go on that, Joe, and say I have been bringing up now for quite some time that we need to teach the kids how to write appropriate emails. The world has evolved. Yeah,
Right.
The world has evolved. Yeah, their message is in the subject line.
Well, I get that from.
Or they're clicking. Yeah.
Hey, I get
we need
that.
We need to teach some adults not to click.
I get that
reply.
from professionals all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
That so yeah. There.
It's
Why
not
am I
about
on this
taking
email?
away. I think the problem is that it is not about taking away so much, Joe. It's about adding. Like, we're taking away. Like, I don't think that they should have taken away how to write a letter or how to write in cursive. I believe all that is important, but I do think that the reason why kids are using or doing inappropriate things is because we are not delving deep enough to teach them the right way to do it.
But
We
there's
just
also
always say is the kids know how to use it. No, they really don't. They really don't. You know what I mean? They know how to use TikTok, but do they know how to write an email appropriately? I don't think that they do.
Well, is there an appropriate way to write an email? Because, like I said, professionally, I know that sounds silly, but professionally, I get emails where the message is in the subject line.
That would be deemed not appropriate.
Agreed. But, anyway, we digress. But on like Victor was saying, on a positive note, appropriate uses of social media, getting out there, exciting things that are going on in a school, exciting things that are going on in a classroom, making that teacher seem like a person outside of the classroom. Same way when you see them on the soccer field and all of that, you see them in a video, or you see them, in their own environment and at home, and with, I think it's great. I think
you really did a good job of that through the pandemic and post the pandemic, of finding the way to use technology to make yourself a real person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think you really did that, which is part of the reason why, I wanted to include you in this, because I feel like you found ways, like many of your colleagues, not just you, but
Right.
I was really very impressed by many of the things that you did to reach kids when they weren't physically present, to continue to reach them when they were present in a hybrid situation, and to continue to try to find the human factor through the use of technology. And I think that that's kind of where the key is like, you can't take the humanity out of it. You have to find the human factor, or the way to keep the connection through the use of technology, which is possible. Victoria and I, like she just brought up, you can't remove the teacher. It's not about just, the same way that good teaching wasn't, here guys, I made a packet for you. Let me pass the packet out at the beginning of the period, work on the packet, the bell's going to ring, you take the packet with you. That good teaching is in the delivery of the information that's in that packet. It's the same way with the technology. Yes, you have a Nearpod, and yes, you can engage them in this Nearpod for 40 minutes without saying anything. But is that what's best for the kids? No, it's all about the interactive piece with the human factor, or the human touch that comes along with the technology.
Sure, and I think you mentioned the word balance before, and I couldn't agree more. I think there should be a balance, and it makes things interesting, and it makes things real, and it makes things current. So I do agree with that tremendously, yeah.
Good.
And on that note,
I'm glad we can finally, after years of technology debate, agree.
Nice.
This makes him mad. Look at him.
Listen, and this is why he's our special guest.
And your special guest is signing out. Thank you all and at home, and it was a pleasure. It's been a pleasure to speak with everybody.
We had a great morning, y'all. We
did.
really did.
Wow.
Y'all.
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 Y'all.